To your next session with Plato training, where we're going to be looking today at creating business documents as part of your business administration course. So by the end of the session, you should be able to identify different types of business documents and why they may be used. You should be able to give examples of when to use a formal or informal communication style within the documents, to state why some businesses adopt a house style for certain documents, and then you're going to produce some routine business documents using the appropriate communication style for your business that you've worked on for the last two sessions. So just a little bit of background information on business documents here. We looked previously at effective communication because this is important for the smooth running of the business. So people within the organisation, in order to be able to effectively communicate, they need to use the appropriate business documents both internally and externally. So business documents can be used for a variety of reasons. It could be that they're there to give instructions to people. It could be to attract new customers. It could be to confirm agreements. And we're going to look at the purposes of business documents a little bit later. So some key terms in terms of your business documents. So a business document are documents that are either paper or electronic. They can be used for different purposes. And for the document to be useful, it must be checked for accuracy. The purpose of the document. This is because each type of document is different, and the requirement that it has is that it's used for the correct process in order to work effectively in business administration. And so each type of document has a specific function, so you need to make sure you are choosing the right one for the right purpose. When we think about sending these documents, so as a business administrator, you need to think about how you're going to communicate information through the business documents. How are you going to send the document? There's lots of delivery options. It could be via letter, via memo, via email, or via fax. So not every business still uses fax machines, but there's certainly still fax machines in the NHS until sometime in 2021. So if we think about sending documents via letter, your letter can be formal. So if you look at the example that I've put on here, you've got the name and address of the person you're sending it to, followed by the date, and then the name and address of the person who is sending the letter. It's very well formatted. But this isn't just the only type of letter that you could send. Letters are in many forms. They're normally sent to advise a business, a customer, or a supplier that something has happened or is about to happen, or to confirm agreements and contracts. A memo, so the full name for a memo is a memorandum, and a memo would look something like the picture on the left hand side. So a memo is a document that's used within a business to inform employees that an event is about to happen. So they're not usually as formal as letters because they are normally internal for the employees. Emails, of course, are very popular because they are much cheaper and quicker to send. It's one of the most common methods of communication in businesses, and probably impersonal as well. Email can be used for a variety of different purposes, so it could be for communicating to customers, suppliers, colleagues and other business contacts. It's a lot quicker than the traditional sort of snail mail as well, such as your letters. Faxes, like I said before, not every business will still use a fax machine, however the NHS rolling them out. They said by the end of 2020, that's going into 2021 now because obviously of the pandemic. So faxes were very, very popular before emails became widely used. Faxes are good because businesses have the benefit of sending exact copies of documents that are handwritten to another person in a different workplace. So if there is a fax machine at your place of work, make sure you get some training on how to use that. So I hope you found the background information useful. It's just as important to know how to send the documents as it is to know which document to use. Some of you may have had some prior knowledge on different methods of sending documents. Some of those terms may have been new to yourselves as well. So we're going to look at different types of business documents. So I've just put a list on your screen here. So these are the most common types of documents that you're most likely to come across when you're working in admin. So agendas, minutes, promotional flyers, order forms, delivery notes, social media calendars and timesheets. So the first one we're going to look at is agenda, and on the right hand side you can see that I've put an example of what an agenda may look like. Obviously your business could have a different template to this, but they're always written in the same format as to what has been set up by the business. So this generally includes the name of the person who called the meeting, the type of meeting it is, the time, date and venue, who's expected to attend. Then we have apologies, which are a list of people who cannot attend. Then it starts with matters that are arising from previous meetings, the items to be discussed, any other business or AOB for short, and the time and date of the next meeting. So after your formal meeting has taken place, somebody should have been writing minutes as part of the meeting. So on the right hand side again you can see an example of meeting minutes. Normally a secretary or a nominated person will be asked to attend the meeting and write up the minutes of the meeting. So the minutes are what is happening during the meeting, so that anybody who has sent their apologies or could not attend the meeting can be sent this out along with those people who did attend it, and they can double check it for accuracy on what they said as well. Promotional flyers are used to advertise a product, service or event, so we looked at some promotional flyers a little bit yesterday for your businesses as well. So flyers will come in many designs, sizes, etc., but they're usually bold and colourful to attract the attention of customers. Business order forms. So I've got an order form on the right hand side here for fizzy jams for a fitter you. Order forms are documents that are used to order items from a business or a supplier, so they're usually sent via email because it's nice and fast. Order forms are laid out in a very clear manner, so they should contain the following information that I've put in the list, so the address of the supplier, the date that the order was made and the order number, a description of the item and the item code so we know what the customer wants, the quantity, so how many the customer would like, the costs, the total cost of the order, any VAT, and then the total including that VAT as well. So it's a nice clear document. A delivery note. This is usually attached to an item when it's in the process of being delivered. So the delivery note contains lots of information about what the package contains, and this is something that warehouse workers can use so they can check off items to make sure that what they're sending in the package is everything that the customer has ordered. So another really useful, clear, concise document. A social media calendar. So you may or may not have seen these before, so I've put an example again on the right hand side. So social media calendars are a more modern business document that is used to schedule the business's social media posts in advance. So when we are looking at our social media units, we were looking at what type of social media we could use to advertise businesses and to gain interest of our customers depending on our demographics. But also we looked at engagement, and this is where your calendar comes in, because you need to engage with your customers regularly on these social media channels. So it depends obviously on which social media the business was looking at, but you need to have a clear plan. What is going to happen on Facebook on Wednesday? What are you going to post to Twitter on Friday? Perhaps there's a day such as Christmas Day where you need to put something that's relevant to that particular day, and of course you can then schedule these posts in advance so you're not going to be having to work on Christmas Day to post that. Timesheet. So a timesheet is a document used by temporary workers to log their days and times of work. So it'll look something like this on the right hand side. The document then goes to the accounts department and wages can be processed, so obviously it needs to be accurate and correct. So generally it needs to include the dates, days and times of work, who's been working those hours, where they've been working, and sometimes what their duties were. So especially if it's overtime, we need to know why they were working that day. So for question number 1, I would like you to identify at least 4 different types of business documents, and then for each document I would like you to state their purpose and show what they are, when they may be used. So for each document, I want you to create a sentence for each document so that you're stating what that document does. So you should have, well, it should say 4 sentences on there really, shouldn't it? Okay, pause this video whilst you complete question 1. So business documents and templates. So I talked a little bit about how your template could be different to the ones that I've just been showing you on the slides previous to this. So business templates are used to speed up the process, they're used for accuracy, and they're used for efficiency. So if you have a template for your business document, that means that it's going to be quicker for you to create the content that you wish to create because you've not got to put all the headers in. It's going to be more accurate because you're not going to miss out any information, which is going to make you more efficient overall. Some further benefits of using templates for your documents. The first one says consistency. So using templates means documents all look similar, making them more professional because you're using the house style that we're going to look at shortly. Clarity. Templates make sure that all the information is included. And of course time saving, where we talked about speed and efficiency already. The templates will help employees create business documents much quicker. So businesses will generally have some templates where the staff members can then just edit the parts that they need to change. There's no point in rewriting an entire document if you just need to add the customer name in, for example. So these are ready-made documents that are saved on the business's computer network, and each document has areas that are protected, which means that only some areas can be changed. This helps the document to stay nice and accurate because they're protected. So I'll just put that back on your screen there as well. So for question 2, I would like you to state why templates are used for some business documents. You must use full sentences and develop a statement of at least 2 sentences to tell me why they're used. Please pause the video whilst you complete question 2. Formal and informal communication. So this is something that we looked at previously when we looked at the communication unit. However, this time we're not looking at it in terms of our language and body language. We're looking at it in terms of business documents. Okay? So we're talking about everyday language versus professional language. Okay? Informal communication we'll use everyday language. So we looked at a couple of examples of this. This could be an email going to your colleague. This could be the memo that's been placed on the board. We don't need any record of this for future reference. It's not a legal requirement to keep that, so it's nice and informal and it can be disposed of. Whereas formal communication is professional language, so it's going to be very well written, and there's going to need to be a record kept of this for future reference. So that's the difference between the two terms in the context of business documents. So make sure when you're answering this question, you're answering in relation to business documents. So when you are working in business admin, you will be working with different stakeholders who will be expecting to be addressed in different ways. So if you're not sure of the term stakeholder, this is anybody with some form of interest in a business who stands to lose if it is run badly. So I've got an example here. An employee would use formal language when writing a letter to a senior manager in another business, but may use informal language when they are communicating with their colleague. So remember, when we're talking about the language, we're talking about what is written. So in terms of business documents, it is usual for formal language to be used when you are communicating with people outside of your company, because formal language is very professional. You'll also be expected to communicate more formally with a senior manager because they expect you to be concise and clear. They don't have time for you to be beating around the bush. So I've just put an image on your screen here just to give you some more information of when we should use formal or informal communication. So you can see here that it goes off into little branches. So for informal, it's about talking to your peers in the same department or talking to team members for social purposes, because remember, that doesn't need to be kept on a log. Whereas your formal communication is for your customers, your payments, and your managers. So a record needs to be kept of what has been spoken about, and it should be professional language that's been used within the documents. So for question 3, I'd like you to give at least 2 examples of when to use a formal communication style. And remember, this relates to business documents, not verbal and non-verbal communication. So just formal to begin with for question 3. And then on to question 4, the same again, but this time for informal language. And the same applies, this relates to business documents, not verbal or non-verbal communication. Please pause the video whilst you complete questions 3 and 4. A house style for business documents. So what is a house style? I've already touched on the phrase house style already when I talked about templates. So a house style is a set of guidelines that are produced by a business for the appearance of its documents. So the house style could include the rules of how the company logo can be used. It could be to do with the fonts, because the business may have a particular font they would like the business to use. It could be notes on how employees should spell certain words, so perhaps in the snapline or motto of the business something's been spelled deliberately incorrectly, and that's part of the house style of that business. So the house style in terms of the business documents, we need to make sure that we're monitoring this because we need to be consistent. This presents a more professional image. A good house style should be well thought out and should reflect the type of organisation that it's being used by. So for example, a water company may use the colour blue in their logos and communications because obviously blue reflects water. See what I did there? Reflects. So I've just got some further ones for you here. And this tells you about the different logos, colours and themes. And it tells you a little bit about how those colours work and what they're reflecting for the business. So you can just pause the video here to have a look at that. So remember, a house style is more than just colour, but those colour guidelines are very interesting, aren't they? It's very intriguing as to how the colours can mean something to ourselves. So a house style is, like I say, more than just the colour. It's guidelines produced by a business for the appearance of its documents. So it's used to present information consistently, and it makes decisions about things like fonts, colours, logos and more. So it could include rules for how the company logo should be used. It could be a guideline of which fonts are allowed in which documents, and it could be notes on how to spell certain words. Like I said before, this could be relating to the sort of strapline or motto of the business. It could be misspelled incorrectly deliberately. So part of your house style will be ensuring that the writing is appropriate within the documents. So you need to make sure that you're using the correct spelling, punctuation and grammar to get the message across to your customer or your other business. You also need to make sure that you're using the correct opening or complimentary close for the business. So the correct opening, such as Dear Sir or Madam, and complimentary close, kind regards, yours sincerely, yours faithfully. So with regards to those openings and closings, when you're writing a letter or email to the individual, there may be times when you know the name and title of the person and other times when you do not. And there are some rules for your grammar that you need to be careful of when you're writing formal letters and emails. So I've just put together a little table here just to explain this. So if you know the individual's name or title, You would either put Dear Jane or Dear Mrs. Smith. If you don't know the individual's name, this is where you'd use your Dear Sir or Madam. But did you know that that changes how you can close your letter? So this changes whether you use sincerely or faithfully in terms of your grammar. So if you do know the name of the person, so if you write into Jane or Mrs. Smith, you're going to be sincere, because you need to be sincere that they're you don't need to be faithful, sorry, that they're going to reply. Whereas when you're using Sir or Madam, you need to be faithful that they're going to reply. You're going to have faith in their response. So the way that I remember this is that you can't be sincere to a Sir. So I think of it as a double S. You're not allowed a double S. But yes, that's your general rule of thumb. So in terms of your house style, some other things to avoid when you're writing your business documents: slang and text language, abbreviations and jargon. Of course, you need to avoid spelling mistakes because it needs to come across professional, and do not be rude. So for question 5, I would like you to state why some businesses adopt a house style for certain documents. So in your answer, I would suggest that you begin by showing your understanding of what a house style is, and then state the purpose of the house style. Please pause the video whilst you complete question 5. So producing documents accurately. So it's really important that all business documents are prepared accurately. This makes it come across as much more professional, and there's some simple ways in which you can do this. So you could get a colleague or a supervisor to check your work for clarity and accuracy. Use your spell checker or a dictionary. You could keep sentences short and simple. It's much easier to keep your grammar correct if you're using shorter sentences, because you're not going to misplace any commas. And of course you should use templates wherever possible, because they reduce the chance of any mistakes happening. So I have for you a little proofreading activity. So you're going to have to read the letter, and you're going to have to look for errors within the letter. You can make notes on the letter itself if you wish. That's absolutely fine. What you are then going to do is rewrite the letter with no errors. So remember, you're not just looking for spelling and punctuation errors, you're also looking for grammar issues, in particular one that I just spoke about. A tip for you there. So for your proofreading activity, make sure you read the letter that's within your work booklet, and then you're going to rewrite the body of the letter on the next page. You don't need to write the addresses and the dates, etc., unless you would like to. Please pause the video whilst you complete a proofreading activity. Take your time with it, don't rush it. I want to make sure there's no errors here. Question 7. You are going to produce some business documents. They need to be accurate. So all business documents give people an impression of the business that sent them. So you need to make sure you're checking your work for accuracy and that it's professional. So your course does not finish today on question 7. Instead, it finishes on question 8, where you're going to show me that you have proofread and what you've done to check your documents for accuracy. So first of all, you're going to produce business documents. So you need to create 2 business documents for your business idea that you created in the enterprise session. So you need to choose 2 documents that you're going to produce from the list below. So you could have a promotional flyer, an order form, delivery notes, social media calendars, or timesheets. If you do have limited IT skills, you can draw these out on paper and take a photograph for your evidence. But make sure that they are being presented really, really nicely for me. So, for example, if you don't have a ruler, use a book or a magazine or a placemat or anything straight that you've got at home, so that it is looking still professional. I have given you lots of extra paper within your workbook to produce these, but if you would rather create them on a different type of software, you can also do that as well. Don't feel limited to the actual Word document that I've given you. You can also, like I say, do it on paper or do it on another piece of software such as PowerPoint, for example. So example 1 of document 1. Okay, so I've created a social media calendar for my cookery program. So we looked yesterday at a little bit of Kayla's cookery. So this was my social media calendar that I created back in April 2020. So you can see what I was going to be posting and when. So I've got the days of the week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I've got a key at the top which shows the colour of what I'm going to be updating. So website, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And then from there you can see what I'm going to be doing on each day of the week to promote my business on social media. So my second example for my Kayla's Cookery business is an example of a timesheet. So Kayla's Cookery, cooking up storm in lockdown. This was my motto. I've had Kim Kardashian working as a blogger on my cookery channel. Very lucky that I am. Kim's worked a few hours for me, so you can see I've put the dates in and the times that she's worked, and then we've got the total hours that she's completed for the business, and then we've both signed and dated at the bottom of the timesheet to authorise that payment. So nice, clear, concise, simple. So my second business example is for Jackie's Perfect Masks business. So we've got here an example of an order form. So Jackie was very lucky and Beyonce Knowles ordered some masks from her business. So we can see here that we've got Beyonce's name, her telephone number, her email address, her address and her postcode. We've then got the item code, a description of the item, the fabric that's used, the size, the quantity, the unit price, the VAT and the amount, and then the total amount at the bottom there. So again, a nice and simple order form, but you can see that it works really well for Jackie's business. And then to coincide with that, I've created a delivery note for Jackie's Perfect Masks. So we've got the delivery details here. So we've got the customer name, Beyonce Knowles, again, her address and postcode. And then we are going to dispatch these masks out to Beyonce on the 1st of May. We've got her order number, our reference number, how many items that she ordered, how we're going to deliver them, a delivery note number and the picker, and then we've got the information that we had from the order form previously, and then at the bottom of the delivery note we're going to ask the driver to say whether she has received this packaging condition and to sign and date on delivery as well. So what I would like you to do now is to produce 2 routine business documents with the appropriate communication style. You also need to check that they've been checked for accuracy. Like I said, we do have question 8 to do yet. So you need to create 2 business documents. Like I said before, you can draw these out if your IT skills are limited, and you can take a photograph, although I do prefer a cam scanner if you have that app on your phone. You need to fill in the business documents. This is crucial to passing the course. There's no point in just sending me an empty table. That's not going to be enough, because you need to check your spelling, punctuation and grammar, and I need to see that your document works for your business. So make sure you're using that communication style, either formal or informal. So we don't want to see any jargon or rudeness if you're using formal language. So you need to relate the business documents to your business enterprise idea. So if your business was producing a product, you could do the order form and the delivery note. If you're a service, you could do like I did on mine, where I did the social media calendar. That worked quite nicely, and a timesheet for my blogger. On to question 8. This is where your spelling, punctuation and grammar are crucial. If there's something wrong in your spelling, your punctuation or grammar, it needs to be corrected because these have to be perfect. If you've done this by hand and you've got a mistake, then you're perhaps going to need to draw it out again and repeat the process. So you need to check your documents for accuracy, and then you need to give examples of what you've done to check them for accuracy before submitting them, because any errors you're going to need to submit them again. Some examples of how you could do this: you could ask somebody at home to check the spelling, punctuation and grammar. If you've not got anybody at home, you could ask a colleague at work, so somebody in your group could check them. So that should be you at the end of your session for today. So you should have identified different types of business documents and why they may be used. You should have given examples of formal and informal communication. You should have stated why businesses adopt a house style for certain documents, and produce 2 routine business documents using the appropriate communication style for your business.